nuts ready to start this?
I thought we already did.
Sure.
Well, I've been recording for a while just because that's how you catch all the racism.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. That's
it.
That's your gotcha moment.
Yeah, you got you. This time I'm going to make sure none of you guys run for office.
Yeah.
Including me. Yeah. All right, everybody. I am Justin Woods, and this is the Woods Cast, and we have a shitload of dumbasses on with us today. Without fail, Shay's always here. My little brother Shay, what's going on?
I'm ready to drop some truth bombs tonight. We're gonna change some paradigms tonight.
I think we're gonna solve some shit. I really do.
We're gonna solve some shit. We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, actually, I think we're gonna create more problems than we have solutions.
I've been trying to work sus into my vocabulary more. So like at least once today, I've said let's suss this out, so that we're sussing tonight. It's sussing.
Okay, yeah, enough of that. Also from the Bluegrass, we got John Maddie. How's it going, John?
Hey, good. I'm excited to be back, but I'm kind of pissed that I'm sharing it with all these other dumb fucks.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Also on the pod tonight, we got our buddy Gatlin. What's going on, Gatlin from the Bluegrass?
Well, now I'm really questioning whether or not I should be friends with John Maddie. So
yeah. This is This is going to be a circular firing squad. I can tell.
It'll come all around.
Yeah, it'll come around. And also Ben, who not only invited himself on the pod, but tried to excise Gatlin at the same time.
That was a coup.
Yeah, that was
a coup. That's what that was, yeah.
And I just want to say, Shay, your beard looks wonderful.
Thanks, man.
What about mine?
That's all right.
I don't care about yours.
Yeah. What they are referencing, ladies and gentlemen, because this is an
audio medium.
It's an audio medium. Is that I have fucked up my beard last Wednesday, and I am currently on the 3rd or 4th day of growing a new beard. So I look.
You better have something on your face by the time I see you in Florida, because I will not be seen in public with you like this.
Yeah, that's going to be a good month from now. So.
Okay, you got some good stuff. Okay, good.
Please tell me that's really not the 3rd or 4th day.
This is like the 3rd day, I think. Yeah, 3rd day. I mean, I shaved my entire face, everything except the eyebrows. So I was walking around like a giant baby that can buy alcohol and shoot guns. So,
yeah, that's true. That was awesome.
That's about it. Okay, so we got all these guys on the pod with us. They actually, Shay, they wanted to come on the podcast with us. That's how trending this podcast is people request to come on.
Fucking just storming the damn gate.
Exactly. Why?
Alex Jones was booked up. So.
Yeah. Well, he
couldn't get you in, man.
Yeah, couldn't get you in. Well, he's also not allowed to put up podcasts where we can, so fuck him. All right, so what are we gonna do today, guys? Okay, so today is Sunday the 31st. So today on the pod, we're gonna talk about, we got, of course, fun stuff. There's a flat Earth cruise that Shay and I may or may not go on to find the edge of the Earth. Alex Jones is having a particularly shitty week. With just a bunch of videos of him being a dipshit, and also
that was the shit from his deposition, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
4 hours of his Sandy Hook deposition is up on YouTube right now for those of you who want to look at it. And there's some good little truth nuggets there. And last but not least, the I don't necessarily want to talk about the Mueller report because nobody's seen it yet, but I would like to talk about the absolute shitstorm that was the aftermath and who needs to shut the fuck up. And that mainly being John Hannity. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say John Maddie because he doesn't mute his mic before he slams the damn headset down to grab a knife at a line.
No,
it wasn't bad.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, this is what we would refer to as a lo-fi podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
very lo-fi. Two tin cans with a string kind of thing.
There was also one where Shay had a bunch of like loose beers and a cooler beside him, and I swear to God, every time he reached in there,
jangling that shit.
It sounded like he threw an aluminum chair into a fucking wood chipper. It's great.
I want to give a full sensory experience to our listeners.
That's right. We'll do this shit in VR one day.
Great.
Okay. All right. So the weekly numbers. I am on my 4th beer, I think. Everybody else is pretty lubed up as well. We are in the 800th day. It's a nice fucking round number. We're 800th day of the Trump administration. We are 292 days, Shay, since we are totally safe from North Korea. So we are almost a year out with no nuclear weapons in North Korea. Except all those new ones they're making, but no, fuck.
Yeah. Those are fucked up. That's not what they're talking about, though.
Yeah. we are 2 full weeks out from the Game of Thrones series finale. I guess the final.
Oh
season.
shit! It's that soon,
It's
huh?
2 years out. Now I know Shay has caught up and gotten into it.
Yeah, I was
Gatlin?
specifically told that I had to watch it.
Gatlin and Ben, are you watching any of the Game of Thrones?
I actually read all the books during season 1, and am still pissed that the books are not coming out any quicker.
Oh, yeah. This.
I've actually never seen an episode. I'm sorry.
No, let's go. No, it's not like you have to do that or vote or anything. It's the fact that I'm actually getting kind of annoyed with the commercials and everybody like, I don't know, like it's gonna come out and I will watch it. So everybody just chill the fuck out. Like nothing's gonna happen for 2 weeks. But to Gatlin's point, yeah, it's one of those rare shows that and John, you don't watch Game of Thrones, right?
I think I got stuck in about season 3 and kind of fell off, so I'm planning to get caught back up.
Okay, well, yeah, you have time. There was actually, it was kind of funny. There was somebody released a calendar like when you should start watching Game of Thrones to be totally caught up before the season finale, and it was like a month and a half ago. It was pretty funny. But yeah, to Gatlin's point, it's one of the rare shows that have outpaced the books and didn't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin, he's just to the point now where he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make all the money I want to make anyway, so.
And he knows that when he finally finishes it, y'all read it. Yeah. You'll buy it.
I actually have never, I've tried twice to read the first book. And I both times I've gotten about halfway through and just lost interest. When I'm for a show, I love it, but when I'm looking for fantasy, like I'm looking at stuff like the the Stormlight Archive. I've been reading those, Brandon Sanderson. That's a lot more. There's a lot more people shooting lightning bolts out of their fingers and shit like that in that. I've never been able to watch that fucking read that book, but the show is incredible. And I shotgunned that shit real quick after I lost my job. That was a good time.
Yeah, well, I think there's like a gradient of complicated ass fucking fantasy. Like Game of Thrones, I think is kind of in the middle. You've got some like The Hobbit, like the Lord of the Rings is kind of like you're starting. Like some of that shit's like there are so many names in the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that if you're reading through, you're like, God fucking damn it, who's this guy again? And then Game of Thrones is like right there in the middle. And then you have the Wheel of Time series by Robert London, I think, Robert Jordan, I'm sorry. And that shit is absolutely incomprehensible.
I have not started that because it is intimidating. Like if you look at the books on it, like it's a big series. I'm sure it's great.
No,
it's
not that great.
I mean, I know a lot of people really like it, but I've tried the first book. I couldn't get into it. It just didn't grab me.
Yeah, but it's like 13 books. Each book is like 1,700 pages. It's absolutely fucking mind numbing. The end of each book is, so we killed the bad guy. Oh no, he's not dead yet. It's like fuck this shit.
Well, and I've heard it's hard to keep track of as you go on.
Yeah,
Voldemort.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'm not 11, so I haven't read the Harry Potter series, so we'll get.
How dare you?
Oh,
yeah.
You guys watch Billions?
I have seen 2 episodes of that, and I'm a fan of that. I like that.
I've seen the first season, and we have Showtime for like 3 months, so I think I'm going to catch up on Billions. And I was actually going to knock out an episode or 2 tonight of the second season.
What are you saying? Is it Millions?
Billions.
What kind of show is it? I've never heard of that shit.
It's with Damian Lewis. He played Dick Winters in Band of Brothers, and he's basically a billionaire hedge fund guy, and he does some legal stuff. Paul Giamatti's the district attorney trying to catch him, and it's a good show. It's a billionaire throwing around his money.
Yeah, like what they can actually
very similar
get
to
done.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, kind of, except less dragons.
There's no dragons. I haven't seen any dragons in it yet.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's 100% true. That's 100%.
He's early on.
Yeah.
He's early on.
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna wait for the good shit.
Yeah. All right. So, wrapping up the weekly numbers after a little Game of Thrones aside. So right now, nothing really has changed in the Gallup. So we got Gallup 39% approval. We got 538 at 42, and then you got the Real Clear Politics, which is another aggregate at 43.6. So basically, Donald Trump's like negative 8.5, 9 in all of these polls. And the only reason I bring that up is because later we're going to talk about the aftermath of the Mueller report. And that's one thing I really have paid attention to. I actually wrote these numbers down on the Sunday, what would that be, the 27th, right? 27th, when the Barr Letter came out. And I want to keep track of this because that's really going to be like whether that pans or doesn't pan for him moving forward. But we can talk about that later. All right, fun stuff. Who here has or has not seen Captain Marvel? Because it's pretty fucking good. I know Shay has. Ben has not. Gatlin has not. What's your excuse, Ben? You don't have a kid.
I had a bachelor party.
Oh, that's right. I was there. Hey, I saw it and I was there. So
moved in the house.
But Ben, you want to go see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's plan a
It's
trip.
good stuff. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
the reason I was going to bring it up is because it's made an absolute shitload of money. And
Where's it at now?
I want to say it's in the 500 billions or whatever.
No, not 500 billion, but it's got to be more than that.
Well, and the point is that the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I don't know if you guys had heard. Shay and I talked about it before, but there was a huge what do you want to call that? Ratings bomb?
I think that's what they call it, is a ratings bomb.
Yeah, 990 million.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I knew it was just short of $1 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big ratings bomb on Rotten Tomatoes because all these guys that are incels and have never gotten their wiener touched by a hot woman or the hot woman they wanted to touch hers. Incels are really weird. But they reviewed the movie 2 weeks or 3 weeks before it was released because for some fucking reason Rotten Tomatoes lets you do that. And so they just destroyed its rating. And so they canceled that. And now it's making a shit ton of money because apparently the incels and all those trolls just suck. So that's happening. I mean, Rachel and I saw it. She loved it. It's fun.
Well, the real Captain Marvel's about to come out.
Hold on. What was that, Ben?
You know the Rotten Tomato and the early ratings, they actually stopped that just recently.
Yeah, for this reason. Yeah.
I mean,
the real Captain Marvel's about to come out.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second. That's gonna be fun too. Yeah, Shazam. But yeah, what Ben's saying is, and Shay and I talked about this before, like, we don't really understand why you're allowed to rate Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel before it was released in theaters worldwide, unless you were a critic. Like, if the New York Times critic for, movies, throws one up, 7 days before the movie was released, you're pretty sure he got a screening or something, so he's on legit. But, Chad Chattington from fucking, Blutha, Alabama, he didn't see that fucking movie early, so why the hell are you letting him rate it, beforehand? So, yeah. So that is what it is, and they had to change their policy. But, like you guys said, Shazam is also opening this week, next Friday, I believe, April 5th. Really excited for that.
My understanding is the early buzz is good.
Yeah.
Everything I've heard about it is really good.
Yeah.
Well, I really like the guy they've got playing adult Billy. Like, so
Zach
he's
Bravi?
great. Yeah, because he was great in it. Was it Chuck?
Chuck?
Yeah, he was fucking solid in that. He was in Chuck. He played Chuck. Yeah. So,
okay.
and he was great in that. And the first 3 or 4 seasons of that show, I remember, were pretty solid. But I mean, he's just a good actor. So it's good to see him again. And it looks fun. Yeah.
When they casted him for that,
yeah,
too,
and it looks great.
They were he's not big enough to be Shazam. He's not cool enough to be Shazam.
I forgot. That is the guy from Chuck, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Chuck.
Chuck's a good show.
It was a great show.
About that show.
Who the hell wasn't?
Everybody forgot about Chuck. I love Chuck.
Moment, I just realized that.
Yeah. Well, I think Shay told me that before, and there were so many times where I was like, God damn it, where do I know this guy from?
Yeah.
And also that kind of like, why did they cast this guy? Like, well, what's going on here? And then Shay reminded me that he was Chuck. It's like, oh fuck yeah, you're right. And like all of us here have seen that show, and while you might not have it all the seasons on DVD, you're like, that's a fun fucking show. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, and it's honestly a great casting choice because Shazam is a child.
Yeah. No, it looks like they're going to hit the right level of fun. So.
Yeah. So just a little for those of you listening at home that aren't watching us pound beers and talk about comic book movies and haven't read all the Shazam comics, Shazam is a character in the DC universe. I'm sorry, DC universe. Who, when he says the word Shazam, is turned into this big, powerful superhero. Can go
basically Superman.
Yeah, can go toe to toe with Supes and kick the shit out of him. But in his alternate form, before he says Shazam, he's a 10-year-old boy named Billy Baston, and there are several really great animated movies. If you've got kids that are around the age of 10, what was it, Shay? Is Superman versus Shazam?
And then a Shazam Black Adam or something?
Black Adam.
Yeah, it's been a while. They're a few years ago, but they're pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing shows. Your kids will love them. And at the end, after Superman is beating on Shazam for like an hour, he realizes like he turns back into a 10-year-old, and Superman is just fucking beside himself. He's like, "Are you shitting me? Like, was I just kicking
Why did I do that?"
Yeah, I was just kicking the absolute tar out of a 10-year-old. And then, you got Superman be like, all right, well, I'll take care of you. We'll teach you how to be a superhero. And then they kick the shit out of Black Adam. So that's always awesome.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so that movie's... I actually have tickets to go see it tomorrow night, so I'm actually pretty pumped. I got early tickets. That's why you support that's why you support your local comic book store, because they will throw out some little freebies. All right, speaking of big, muscular, hunky dudes, I think I'm talking to...
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm talking to... I was gonna say I'm talking to the right age group here, because we have a He-Man movie fucking firing up that's gonna start filming in July.
Who is? Does any? I'm just gonna look it up, but I don't even know who's doing it.
I've looked up the actor up. He looks like He-Man, but he also looks like He-Man's anorexic younger cousin. He is not huge.
Dolph Lundgren is way too old right now.
What's that, Ben?
I hope they scrap it and they say Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah. Well. You can't talk about a new He-Man movie without, like, I think every theater should have a Masters of the Universe screening like the weekend before that movie comes out, just for fucking comparison, because that movie was so bonkers that
the guy doing this movie has not really done anything. He made one Masters of the Universe. This is his first big,
Yeah.
Just so everybody can meet Gwildor.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And that
When he snags the ribs, that's my favorite part of the whole movie.
Well, I know.
And don't forget, Courtney Cox was in that too.
Yeah.
Yep. That's weird. They're changing some stuff about the origin. Like, I think, like, Skeletor is his brother, not his uncle in this version. And what's the little floating wizard guy?
Orko.
Orko. He's not going to be a floating wizard guy. He's going to be like a humanoid person. A humanoid. They're changing stuff, but I'll see it. Shit, I watched the original one from the '80s on TV the other day, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
I think that the reason.
Good journey.
Yeah, good journey. Yeah.
I am a god. Lightning bolts.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that we're all in the age group. Like I think John and Shay were a little bit behind the He-Man toys thing. Like, I don't know if
He-Man was not my jam. I watched the show, but didn't have the toys.
Yeah, so like Shay like when in the Woods household, like I was into He-Man, and Shay, I was a little bit too old to pick up on the Power Rangers, and Shay did. So like that's the delineation.
Oh yeah.
I
was all about the Power Rangers.
But they're both colorful plastic things that you could fucking stamp out of anything, you know. Like,
oh yeah, and make millions off of it. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he's into She-Ra. So.
Oh yeah.
That formula holds up so well, Justin. I was in a GameStop just the other day, and the one near my house has a Power Rangers Morpher Belt replica, but it's all metal, and like it's like $80, and I was just like, man, that's pretty dope. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm sitting here, I've got they re-released a bunch of the figures like Legacy Collection, so to the right, or that's my left actually, I've got all of this Power Ranger bullshit. Yeah. So. I'm sitting there, I'm looking, I was like, can I afford to spend $80 on? No, probably not. But it's like that shit is still on the market. It's awesome.
Years ago, I went to when I was still living in Lexington, I went to the Lexington Comic Con. And Shay will know his name off the top of his head, but the Green Ranger, he's a now.
Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy.
Well, no, but what the actual actor?
I actually could not
just
tell
Tommy
you.
To me.
Yeah. See, John's got it right. It's just Tommy. Well, whatever. He was there.
Jason David Frank.
There you go.
That sounds right.
He was there, and the line to get a signature from him went out the fucking the door, and there were so many people there with There's somebody there with the the legitimate or morphers and belts. So like they had one for him to sign in a box. They were wearing one, and I just happened to walk by and catch him like say something to somebody. He's like, man, all these people have these morphers. I've got an entire closet full of them. I can make a killing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, of course you have a fucking closet full of them. You're the fucking Green Ranger.
Also,
why was he not making a killing?
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm sure he was charging fucking $40 a fucking signature, so I'm sure he was still making a killing on all the ones he did know. But all right,
I'll
Shay.
say.
I'm back. That was weird.
Yeah. All right. Now, Other fun stuff, and this one is really, really kind of surprised me.
Why does it look like? Is anybody else seeing this shit?
What is he doing?
Yeah.
It looks like he's sitting on a set of a fucking talk show.
What did
My
you
bedroom,
do?
dude.
What did you do to the camera?
It's
I
like
didn't do anything to a camera.
it's all blurry behind you. You're in focus, but everything else is blurry as all get out.
Dude, just leave it. It's amazing.
Oh,
Wow. That's bizarre. I don't know. Let's do this.
All right,
It's
I'm
too
not-
bad nobody can see what we're seeing.
That's what
You
I'm
may have
talking
to
about.
cut this out. That's
I would
ridiculous.
say butter.
Oh, that's butter. That's amazing.
All right, now hold on a second. I want to throw this up for everybody. Oh, wait a minute.
I don't know what happened. Sorry.
Oh, you're not going to be able to watch that trailer.
Yeah, you are.
None of us are going to be. That's not. None of us are going to be able to. It doesn't work well.
Godzilla 2 coming out?
All right. You guys seen this?
Oh, we
Yeah.
got sound?
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the new trailer,
They're everywhere.
Godzilla trailer.
Yeah, this is
Looks
this
so
is
good.
this is kind of a big deal for me. And again, like people can't see this, but this is the most recent trailer for the new Godzilla movie.
Trailer
coming
number
out
3.
in May. Yeah, trailer number 3. So, but it's just really fantastic because it's got the classic lineup of monsters. You've got Rodan, you've got Ghidorah, you've got Godzilla, you've got Mothra. They're also doing the same thing. It looks like they're doing the same thing the Japanese films did, which is kind of make Godzilla the good guy. Because in the trailer you see somebody, it looks like they put their hand on his nose. So I don't know. Looks interesting. I'm so fucking pumped for this shit. I think we're gonna do it right and see it in IMAX with Dolby Digital and all that shit when it comes out.
Yeah, that is.
And the
Use the
dog is
mic,
all for
Ben.
it. Whoever's dog is that is all for this shit.
So like that's the thing is like Shay was saying, and I kind of want to default to Shay here. I am absolutely flabbergasted that they remade Godzilla as well as they did the first time, and then they're gonna lean so fucking full bore into it and do all the other monsters, King Ghidorah, yeah, Rodan.
And is that Kyle Chandler as the main character that they have going on?
What is it?
Kyle Chandler,
Who?
the head coach of Friday Night Lights.
Oh yeah, that was him. Yeah.
Taylor?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. He it's great because there's been some like articles that have floated around from people who've seen like the first like 40 or 50 minutes of it. 'Cause I think it's right around a 2-hour movie, and they say it's really similar to the Hesse series and the Japanese movies, which are the ones that there were a bunch of them made in the 90s that are all about as many monsters as possible, lasers, robots, just really over the top and silly, and not super heavy on the story, which is how it should be. And if it's like those films, this is going to be a fun ass movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looked like a lighthearted drama to me.
Yeah, it's a rom-com actually.
It's
Yeah.
a rom-com. Yeah, it's a Sam rom-com.
Justin, you're gonna have to screenshot this whole shit though, because Shay's little picture,
How do you do that? I really don't know how I did that.
like he's got it on portrait mode.
So
Yeah.
what the audience can't see is that that I've done something. I had an issue. Skype shut down. I restarted it. Jumped back in the conversation. You probably heard that. Justin's not going to cut it out.
I mean,
and
he's got CNN
now that I'm back, the back behind me it's all blurry, but I myself am very sharp. It's a nice effect. I don't know how I did it. I am a genius.
Yeah. But yeah,
I love
one of the things that cracks me up about this new Godzilla movie is that not only are they leaning into it, but like I have this weird affinity for Mothra because it makes no sense to have a giant moth creature because like what the fuck I don't know what you're doing here. But like what the fuck is a moth gonna do to Godzilla? You just crush it, right? But he does hold his own, or she holds her own.
She does, and
she's a protector of the island.
it's 2019. You need to use the right one, but she is Mothra. A lot of times in the movies is like we'll do this thing where Godzilla's dying because King Ghidorah is kicking his ass, and then Mothra flies in, does some weird thing, hurts King Ghidorah. He flies away for like 10 minutes, and then comes back, kills Mothra. Mothra dies, releases a bunch of energy, and helps Godzilla come back to life. Like, she almost always gets her ass whipped and dies. So, like, I'm fully expecting Mothra to die in this movie. That's that. Like, almost every other movie that character is in, it just gets blown up. Because you're right. It's like, I'm a scary moth and fire breath. I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on fire.
Yeah. Ow, that hurts. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else died? Your awesome scream.
It's fine.
Oh, it's on. Oh, it is. Oh.
That's okay. Well, also, it was actually... Oh, fuck. What is he doing now?
Worry, boys.
No.
Yeah.
I was going to say Godzilla must have just died.
Speaking of totally real things, excuse me, that aren't made up, the Flat Earthers are going to take a cruise to fucking Antarctica and are apparently going to either find the ice wall or piss away a bunch of money. And I don't have to tell you which one my money's on.
They're going to piss away a bunch of money.
Piss away a bunch of money. So, for those that have first of all, I'm going to start with, has anybody else but me watched the Netflix documentary Behind the Curve?
No. I have not. I've heard it's a good one.
No. It is. Gatlin, you watch it. It's fun. It's fun as fuck because it basically follows them around and it takes two sides to that equation. So it's like
a bunch of fucking idiots is who it follows.
Yeah, okay. So it follows around a bunch of fucking idiots who are flat earthers. But then it also talks to a bunch of actual fucking physicists that are like, listen, we don't know where they're getting this idea from. We don't really care. And one guy says a really, really, I think, poignant point is that, listen, these people are researching a thing we know is untrue just wholeheartedly and balls to the wall. So what we did is we lost some scientists. Like, we let scientists that could have been good scientists fall through the cracks. And rather than ridicule them, we need to bring them into the fold and make them good scientists. Now, that was my PSA. They are absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole thing about this flat Earth that it's on Netflix. You watch it. But one of the things that in their own documentary, they prove the Earth is round 3 times. So that's fun. Yeah, they perform 3 different experiments and they all fail. So that's fun. Now, in this article that I've read, apparently YouTube star and general fuckwhistle Logan Paul. You guys aware of this idiot?
Yep,
vaguely.
Yeah. Well, we're not too deep in the millennial culture, so I don't know why we would really give a shit about him. But
he's the same guy that filmed that whole Japanese.
Yeah, the Suicide Forest.
Suicide Forest.
Yeah. He took a trip to Japan and filmed in graphic detail what is a traditional place for people to apparently walk into the woods and hang themselves. And he filmed all the bodies, and there's a little bit of uproar on YouTube, and he got banned for 40 minutes or something stupid. And but yeah, I don't know why he's just a blonde dipshit. So he has come out as a flat earther, and he's currently making his own documentary, or it might be a mockumentary on the subject of flat Earth. But he's also come out and said, I think I might be a flat earther. So all of these people are going to take a cruise to Antarctica, and the point is to see how, because okay, so in the flat Earth theory, if you guys haven't been keeping up with this nonsense, the head guy about this is a guy named Mark Sargent. He has a book called Flat Earth Clues: The Sky's the Limit. I stole it off the interwebs. Fuck him. Come at me, buddy. I stole his book. I'm about a third of the way through it. It's absolutely horrible. I don't mean just because the conclusions are horrible. I mean the punctuation's horrible. If I can correct your spelling, you fucked up.
Yeah, that's accurate.
The grammar's horrible. Like, it is just a mess of a book. But this guy wrote this book, and they're gonna. Oh god, it's just so hard. It hurts me so much. But in the book, they describe the Earth is flat. There's an ice wall around all that holds in the oceans, and they think that Antarctica is not a frozen continent at the southern pole of the United States. Instead, it's a ice wall that's spread out around the edge of the flat Earth. So they're going to go to Antarctica and find out that you can't sail around it, which you can. And then they're going to find out that what they think, I think one of the really obscure things they're basing it on is that some guy in like the 1700s measured the circumference of Antarctica at like 77,000 kilometers or something like that, and it's only like 13. So if they get a number higher than 13, boom, the Earth is flat. So that's what they're gonna do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, good luck with that, guys.
I believe that's when my shit turns purple and smells like rainbow sherbet.
Yeah, John's shaking his head like he's skeptic as well.
Just a little.
I love that shit. And my thing is I wonder. It'll be interesting to see how, like, because I wondered why no one's tried to do that. Like, producing a film is cheaper than it's ever been. And like, in theory, you could just start a trip around the world and film it on your phone and be like, I'm gonna find the, it's going to be real fun to see how they spin it when they find out the Earth is round. I would really like to see like one of these guys that's super into it go to the flight and then just have a mental breakdown and be like, oh my god, I was wrong, and just that would be good. Fling himself off the boat and we'll call it a day. Just
keel haul themselves in the Antarctic water.
Or maybe he finds the ice wall and climbs to the top and staring into the void stares back and he just throws himself off the edge.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how like high the wall supposedly is.
It's supposed to be several miles high.
Yeah, a couple miles.
Wow, that's pretty high.
You know what, Trump's wall?
No.
The ice wall. Actually, they're both fictitious, so it's cool. Like the thing is like they're basing all of this off, like I said, a measurement that was done by some guy in the 1700s. And I don't mean to bust on, nautical navigators in the 1700s, but you guys didn't have GPS.
That's true.
And speaking of GPS, if they're going to take this cruise to Antarctica and then trace around Antarctica and see what its border is and look for the ice wall, how are they going to get there? Are they going to use GPS? Because GPS works on the entire principle is that the Earth is round and you need 3 satellites to pinpoint your location.
Yes.
If the Earth is flat, you would need 1.
I actually respect it. They got a fucking sextant out there.
Yeah. See, that's it. What's that, Ben?
If only it were that simple.
Right.
I think you can make the argument that people who use GPS are soft.
Oh, well, okay. So what we're saying...
All right, Matt Bevin.
what we're saying is that these guys on this... I have to assume it's going to be a very large cruise ship, are going to set sail for Antarctica. And I think Shay's point is right. I think they should use a goddamn sextant and like some old-ass charts that have like the serpents that are going over the names.
There'll be monsters, yeah.
Yeah, there'll be monsters here. But yeah, but Shay's exactly right. It's never been cheaper to produce a film like this. They said in Flat Earth, in this I'm mixing my metaphors here. I'm sorry, Behind the Curve. In the movie Behind the Curve on Netflix, they said towards the end, they were like, why don't you just take an expedition? And Mark Sargent, who's the king of the dipshits, was like, oh, we're gonna do it. We just came up with the funding to do it. Like, all right, well then. All aboard, matey. Let's fucking do it.
Let's go, bro.
God,
yeah, that's good.
If I had a year to piss away in the money, I would just sit there. Shay and I would share a room, and we would just be pissed drunk and laughing.
Absolutely. The whole time. Like, all right, let's go find the end of the earth. Like, woo,
Yeah.
Like, what do you tell people that though? They're like, where are you traveling to? He's like, well, I'm trying to find the edge of the earth and prove that it's flat, because that's the thing.
I'll go to the loony bin with you.
Yeah, let's go. I'm into it. I mean, if somebody wants to pay for that shit, I'll do it. But yeah, that's going to be fun to see how that shit turns out.
Speaking of paying for stuff, the one and the most hilarious muff up in this Behind the Curve was these guys were talking about how if the Earth rotates 365 degrees every day, that means it has to do about 15 degrees of rotation an hour. And they said, well, if we set up a gyroscope, that should show 15 degrees of tilt every hour. And now, of course, you can't do that with a manual one. You can't like spin up a manual gyroscope and watch that for an hour because there's a drag there. So they said that what they needed to get was I think I'm getting this correct. It's a green laser gyroscope that they use in the airliners, the modern planes, to make sure pitching on all that stuff is taken care of in the software. So somebody, and they didn't say who, somebody dropped 20 grand on a green laser gyroscope for these guys to set up an experiment and measure.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and it very promptly read 15 degrees an hour, and they said, "Well, shit." And of course, they didn't present this result at their conference because they're like, "Well, that's just gonna make us look stupid." It's like, you know what? All of this makes you look stupid. You should just lean into it and go with it.
That's amazing. I hadn't heard. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So they're coming up. So then they came up with all these ways of shielding the gyroscope from the effects of the Earth. They're like, put it in aluminum, put it in, and then they just started.
It's probably made by Boeing.
I'm sure it was. And they just started throwing out materials that they said that they just thought were exotic. They were like, we're gonna encase it in bismuth. I was like, I don't know.
Should
shit
order
about
the upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know shit about bismuth. I do a quick Google search. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna fix it. Your problem's still fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your problem is your perception of reality.
Yeah,
That's your problem.
problem
You can't filter
reality.
that shit. You can't get a shelter for that shit. Yeah, that shit is great. I wonder because I feel like eventually the whole flat Earth thing will fizzle out. Maybe it may take as long as to where, like, I can't remember the specific term the airlines use, which is funny talking about Boeing, but where the plane goes into the upper atmosphere and then almost outer space and comes back down, so you can travel distances really quickly. Like, maybe it'll take that long, but it's got to die out eventually. Like, it has to, like, because it's just not a thing.
Yeah.
There's no way to prove something that isn't true is true. So eventually it's got to fizzle out.
I feel like you've lost Ben's interest, so.
No, I've got a couple of different things going on, but I'm good right now.
Yeah.
And you want to know this, Gatlin? So Brian has to use my PayPal. That's
poor Brian.
Right now. I'm getting Brian access to my PayPal so he can do his bourbon trading. Since you sent him the
Is this something we're gonna say on the podcast? Because I don't give a shit.
I can care less.
It's what I use every time I make a transaction on PayPal.
Well, let me fill Shay in here. So we recently went on Ben's bachelor party, and everybody Venmo'd or PayPal'd Ben's brother for the use of the Airbnb. And Gatlin very coyly put as the memo
underage sex trafficking.
Yeah, underage sex trafficking. And it promptly locked his shit down.
That is
I'm so surprised.
Amazing.
Well, I don't think it had anything to do with that.
I think it had everything to do with that.
I think his PayPal got shut down because he was doing actual deals of bourbon that cost a lot of money.
Nah, he
would have been shut down too.
He's an anesthesiologist by day and he's a bourbon trader by night. And he trades and sells all this bourbon and shit. And whenever Gatlin's did that, I mean, he sells, it was like thousands of dollars. And he's like, yeah, my PayPal's locked up. He's like, can I use your PayPal? These guys like using PayPal better than Venmo.
My PayPal still works. Just gonna go ahead and say that.
Well, it's the people trading the sex slaves, not the ones wanting the sex slaves.
Well,
you know what?
I would like to point
people tune in for.
Yeah, I would like to point out that Gatlin, your PayPal might not be locked up, but I guarantee you it's being watched.
Yep,
probably.
Yeah.
I've used that same memo every time.
Hell, we're probably
any transaction.
Guys.
Oh, I guarantee this is being watched, Ben, because there's no reason I'm going to ever run for office, and this is Exhibit A.
Pointing. I figured you would for office one day.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we take a break while I can get a pitcher of beer and we can.
Did they actually put those on, or are those like a app or something?
Shay actually is wearing those.
Those are real?
Yeah.
I want to know what the hell he's done.
They look fake, like the way he is right now. They actually look fake. Like
he's in an entire different dimension right now.
Oh wow!
For what the audience needs to know right now, since you can't see this, is that these knuckleheads don't know you can blur the background as an effect on Skype, and I've done that and blown their minds.
How do you do that?
Well, we can talk about it offline, Justin. You should cut this. This is not a Skype podcast.
So
whatever. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to take a pause for the cause right now so that I can fill up my pitcher of beer. Everybody can take a squeege. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about something reasonable. Alex Jones.
Oh,
Yes.
Ben's got it too.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We are back. We are
Bothers
back.
me.
Stop all of your uncouth talk. We need to talk about someone who's very couth and who is totally not going to go to jail or lose everything he's worth. Mr. Alex Jones.
Man.
He has had a very not good week. This week, not only has he been filmed screaming at patrons at a chicken restaurant in
Oh
Austin,
shit!
Texas.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So apparently he went into this chicken. Okay, so let's just back up a little bit. So last week or 2 weeks ago, he went back on the Joe Rogan podcast. Did you guys catch any of that?
actually,
No.
I
was
saw
that,
he
Ben?
went on there. I didn't actually watch it.
I caught a little bit of it. And
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I mean, I don't. The dude is he's just so like. He's so trigger happy. Like all he wants to do is just whatever you say, he just reacts to it, and it's just comical.
Yeah. It's comical. It's not informative.
No, it's just comical.
Yeah. So, for those of you that have been living in a hole for a while, Joe Rogan, he went on Joe Rogan's podcast years ago. Alex Jones would like to tell you that it was the highest rated podcast ever. So lately Joe Rogan has been having on people like Tim Cook of Twitter, the CEO of Twitter, and Tim Cook couldn't answer some very basic questions. One of those being, why specifically did you ban Alex Jones from Twitter? So this made Alex Jones think that Joe Rogan had sold him out and said very, very disturbing things about Joe Rogan on his own show, about how he would hang him by his feet and gut him politically, of course, just politically. And so they had a long talk on the phone apparently, and then he had him back on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had him back on his podcast, Joe Rogan Experience, which I do not recommend. Joe Rogan is the dumbest and softest interview you could ever give to anybody. He pushes back a zero on everybody he ever talks to, and it's
Well, I
play
mean,
devil's advocate. He's not saying he's a journalist.
No,
it's
he's
it's
not.
like
No.
it's two
No.
friends bullshitting. Like they're
Right.
buddies.
Yeah, I
so,
mean-
like I would expect him to.
every one of his shows are just him sitting there talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Like he's not actually trying to get.
I guess my real point is if you're trying to get good information or news from Joe Rogan's podcast, you're a fucking moron.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
he's a comedian and a UFC commentator. I mean, you
Yeah.
kind of get what you pay
And he's
for.
not that good of a comedian. At least I don't think he's that.
no, exactly right. But
Dude, he's
but his,
pretty funny, man. If you watch some of his stuff, it's
oh,
funny.
no. I have no problem with his stand up at all. I think it's funny to mediocre at best. Like it's
I
not
mean,
like,
comedy is subjective as fuck. So
Yeah, of course, yeah, it's not a big deal. But what everybody talks about is how, the Joe Rogan podcast. My problem with it is that it has such a wide audience, and I can kind of break that down for you. Why I think it has such a wide audience is that Joe Rogan, like you guys say, he's willing to talk to anybody, and he's a comedian, and he fights Taekwondo, and he comments on UFC, and then he also will have basically anybody on his podcast is willing to sit down and talk to him, but he only really picks the people that are going to be big draws because he's in it for business. I don't fault the man for that at all.
Well, I mean, I've listened to it before, and he will flat out, like, he's very liberal.
He won't. Say
I would
that.
say
He
he's
is.
probably
He
more
won't say
libertarian.
that. Yeah, he'll say he's a libertarian.
I mean, I've listened to a few of his podcasts where he flat out just bombs people on the right.
Compared to Alex Jones, he probably is, but
Right. My problem isn't with his political stance at all. I don't give a shit where Joe Rogan votes. My problem is that he has such a huge audience because he plays into these really weird cross section of people. Like, so if you are like a policy wonk, you don't give a shit what Joe Rogan has to say about anything. But he has people on his podcast that you would want to listen to.
and the thing is, he gives them an outlet. Like, pretty much Alex Jones has been cut off everywhere he can
Bullshit.
go. But
Bullshit. Alex Jones is on air for 4 hours a fucking day, 5 days a week, 2 hours on Sunday. He's on multiple hundreds of radio
stations. I will say this. From my understanding, and this I'm saying this is a good thing. Him being kicked off of everything has drastically affected his viewership. It's been almost half.
And when I say he's been cut off,
but that doesn't affect his radio programs. His syndication.
No, not at all. No.
So the problem with Joe Rogan is, okay, if Ben's got, everybody's going, all right, John, go get some fucking sunglasses.
Fuck that.
No, but here, like, back to what I was saying. Joe Rogan, if you're a policy wonk, Joe Rogan will have on some people that you want to listen to because they have some shit to say about policy. If you are into the UFC and you wear tap-out shit every day, you're going to listen to Joe Rogan's podcast because he's into that culture, and you're like, hey, he's a fighting bro like I am. And then the people he has on, you might hear some shit you hadn't heard before. And if you're an extreme fucking right-wing guy, thank you, John. If you're an extreme right-wing guy, you're going to, like, go on his podcast. And my problem is he doesn't push back against fucking anything that's complete bullshit. And Alex Jones dropped some real big fucking stinkers on his podcast.
I do agree. Like, I get why he doesn't do it, but it does piss me off when Alex Jones says some ridiculous bullshit.
Right.
And I wish he would just be like, well, that sounds like bullshit to me.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Case in point. At one point, now during this entire 4.5 hour long podcast he did with Joe Rogan, Alex Jones drank several full glasses of just nothing but Tito's on the rocks. They talked about how would you like to smoke some tobacco? And then they made a point of saying, well, I don't want to smoke marijuana, but I will smoke this tobacco with you. Like, all right, fuck off, guys. Like, we're not in third grade. Like, or we're not 13. We understand what you're doing. You're a pound of drinks. You're high as fuck. So just get over it.
One thing about Joe Rogan, though, is Joe Rogan is pretty much that way with anybody. I mean, he doesn't care.
No,
we've already established that.
Like, he doesn't lean left or right. He just kind of, whenever he's talking to Alex Jones, the best part was he asked him, in some sort of way he asked him, he was like, hey, what do you think about your podcast being canceled? And then Alex Jones just went off on him.
Right.
Alex Jones basically blamed everything on him having psychosis.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. That's the actual deposition. But what you're saying, Ben, is also true because like he just goes off, and what he does is he says A, B, C, D, and E.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you have processed A and B, he's already talking about E. So you don't have time to slow him down and say like, hey, whoa, these first two things you said sound really dubious. He's already on E and going, why don't you keep up, Joe? This is all common knowledge. And then he just moves on to the next topic. Because if you actually sit Alex Jones down and say, tell me how you know that the water is making the frogs gay, he has absolutely no fucking clue about that because he has no fucking sources. My case in point that Joe Rogan as a comedian, should have landed on him with both fucking feet. As a comedian who can handle a heckler, and a man, like if a man would jump on stage and try to punch Joe Rogan in the dick, he would hand him his ass. He would like shove the stool that he had his water sitting on right up that guy's ass. And if somebody heckled him, he would also handle them very well.
Rogan wants him back on the show. That's what Rogan wants.
Well, yeah. I'm not, again,
like I'll get Alex Jones on there. It's ratings.
Exactly. I'm not faulting these guys for this. What I'm faulting him for is that Alex Jones told this anecdote, and it was horse shit, and he should have like nailed him on it. He said, Alex Jones said, listen, the Satanists have been trying to recruit me since I was 13. When I was 13, I looked like I was 18. And when I was 13, I was banging this girl who was a senior in high school. She would pick me up in her Mercedes. She would drive me to her mansion. We'd have sex. It was the best sex I'd ever had. And then while I would walk out of the mansion, her dad would say, hey, you like having sex with my daughter? Because I have sex with her. And when you join this Satanist cult, you can have sex with. You get so much tail. And I thought, oh, that's really weird. And I left. And Joe Rogan goes, huh. What he should have been like is, what the fuck ever, dude. Just land on him with both feet as a comedian and tell him that that story was absolutely full of shit. And then just
at
move
the
on.
very least, you should have some like questions about it. You know, I feel like if you're interviewing somebody about an experience like that, you're gonna like, you know, go a little deeper.
I'd be a little shocked myself.
Well,
Sure.
First of all, not only is that a actual sexual assault on a 13-year-old Alex Jones we're just glossing over, but
Well, I mean, I'm fine with a 13-year-old Alex Jones being sexual.
well, I'm fine with a 13-year-old Alex Jones being sexually active as well. But I think that all of that story, you're not going to prove it positive or negative. But Joe Rogan should just say, "Well, that was horseshit," and just move on. Like, but he just goes, "Well, that's wild." And then lets Alex Jones say the next thing. Like, it was literally a 4.5 hour episode of fucking Infowars. But that's not what I want to talk about. So, spanning from that, we got 4 hours of Alex Jones depositions that are on YouTube right now. And you can watch them. And actually, I would like for you all just to, at some point tonight, bring that up on YouTube and look at it. Because Alex Jones is a sad, broken man. He's sitting at a table. He's wearing a fucking green polo. And he just looks scared shitless. Because he knows if he lies like he lies every day in this particular interview, he's going to get his fucking tank kicked in. And the reason he had to do this deposition because the I believe 3 or 4 of the parents of the children who were killed at Sandy Hook have sued him for defamation because he said that it was A, it didn't happen, B, those kids are still alive, and C, that the parents of the children at Sandy Hook are making money off this in collusion with the government.
He blamed it on psychosis.
Well, yeah, in the deposition, there were a lot of things that came out from this, and they were funnier shit. A, he said that I was in kind of a psychosis because after the Hillary Clinton years, I just believed everything the media told me was false. And he admitted to getting all of his sources from YouTube, 4chan, and just people who called into his show.
You guys saw the dad of one of the Sandy Hook children commit suicide this week.
Yes. Last week, and Alex Jones went on his show and said that guy was probably murdered by the government.
Yeah, I didn't see what he said, but what you just said, I mean, it's that's just how he is. I mean, that's just the person. I mean, Alex Jones is what he is. I mean, he stirs shit, and he just stirs it. And when this guy killed himself, he goes, "Oh yeah, the government probably killed him." The guy had two other kids after his child died. And he has 2 other young kids, and the guy just couldn't handle it. But here comes Alex Jones talking about how this guy was probably murdered by the government, or it's sad, man.
Well, and not only does he do that, Ben, like you just said, but he also says, and now the government's going to probably try to blame this on me. Like, he always makes sure that he puts himself in the middle of it. And the point here that I wanted to make is that watch these 4 hours of Alex Jones looking like somebody kicked him right in the crotch and made him sit at a table and admit to what he did, because there's video of him doing exactly what they fucking said he did, and he's gonna get reamed for this, and I hope he does, because the problem I have with Alex Jones and people like him is that the shit he says will bubble up through really real conservative politicians.
The thing is, he should, but do you think he really will?
He will. He right now is Alex Jones right now is hemorrhaging money left and right.
Yeah, he's paying. It may not be like he's not going to go to prison or anything, but he's fucking getting bled dry.
He's going to be back on his podcast. He'll be back on his radio. He'll be back on there in 4 or 6 weeks.
Exactly.
And it's all because I have the right to speak.
No,
but the revenue from that is shrinking.
Yeah, Ben is exactly correct.
But there's going to be other people. There's going to be people who are going to give him revenue. I mean, there's always going to be people who support that side. There's not going to be people who support him, and the revenue will dry up, but it'll come back. I mean, it always does.
You'd be surprised.
That right there, what Ben just said is actually the linchpin of the Alex Jones network. Is that what Shay said earlier, that his traffic to his sites has decreased by almost half, is true. Ben, what you're saying is exactly right. He'll be there as long as he can fucking cash a check on this shit.
Oh, yeah.
And there will be someone there to support him. There will be.
Yeah, there will be. But the problem right now is
he'll continue to have all those supporters.
Right.
Sadly.
But what John was saying and what Shay was saying and what Ben was saying are all kind of coming together here. The problem is he's hemorrhaging money. Since his divorce in 2013, he paid out at least $5 million in court fees to keep his kids. And his wife is still fighting it because there are reports that his son goes on Infowars every now and then, and he's fucking a dead-eyed fucking
Yeah, that kid's creepy.
That kid's creepy. His
followers and revenue aren't necessarily the same thing.
So he is hemorrhaging money right now on his divorce proceedings and his numerous lawsuits. So yeah, like his traffic cut in half to his site and his web store at Infowars Life, whatever. Like that's really hitting him hard. So I think in the next year or so, we're gonna see whether he can swim or float on this, because this Sandy Hook lawsuit is not going away, and it shouldn't, because he said everything they're accusing him of saying. And whether or not they get $1 billion in the settlement, he's still going to have to pay to fight that fucking shit for the next year and a half or whatever it is.
The problem with the Sandy Hook, the problem with that is, though, you're once again you're going on freedom of the press and all that bullshit.
Right.
It's such a, for him to actually probably paying out something it's going to be minimal. I mean, it'll be minimal.
No, I don't think he's going to pay out a $10 million settlement. What I think he's going to have to do is he's going to have to admit that what he did was what they accused him of doing, and that's going to take several $1 million in legal fees.
I don't know if he'll ever admit to it, because the thing is, if he admits to it, then basically he has to get. I mean, you're saying you're basically saying he can't say whatever he wants on the radio for freedom of speech.
No, not at all. What I'm saying is what he said. Okay. Let's back up a step. What he did after the Sandy Hook thing was not just say I think this might have been a false flag. What he did was say outright, these kids aren't dead. Their parents are making money from it, and then he doxed the parents. He put up maps put on his show. He put up maps to their houses and their addresses, and then encouraged his followers to investigate the truth, which was just code for go fuck with these people.
So and the thing is he hasn't been banned from radio and shit. He's been banned from networks that what would be considered a private network, in the sense that it's Apple gets to decide what goes on iTunes. Twitter gets to decide who gets to tweet.
Networks or anything.
Excuse me?
He's on any mainstream networks. I mean, he's just whoever uploads them.
Right. But yeah, that's the thing. Is it's not about his freedom of speech. It's about how he used his freedom of speech to target and harass people who are going through the worst fucking thing in their lives. And then he acts like he never did it. And what he likes to say is the mainstream media will upload an edited version of this video and make you look bad. It's actually no. What makes you look really bad is the unedited fucking version of what you fucking said.
Yeah, because he's a shithead.
Yeah. Because what he puts up is an edited version of what he said to make him look less fucking culpable.
It's being a shithead doesn't mean you lose.
Well, no, not at all. Being a shithead doesn't mean you lose, but also the First Amendment doesn't protect you just because you're a shithead.
Oh, no. Of course not.
No. All right, so that was fun. First of all, we just kind of glossed over that he takes all of his sources from YouTube and 4chan, which is, if you've ever been on 4chan, it's like the absolute, it's like the bar toilet of the internet. It is horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't always it's always been kind of a shitty place, but the a lot of the racist shit got root there and kind of took hold, and that's what a lot of it is. It used to be a really fun anonymous message board with lots of goofy shit, but now it's just the scariest place on the internet in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, it's not good. And it's funny that people get banned from 4chan, so they made 8chan, and that's literally So much worse. It's not even just 2 times worse. I can't explain how worse it is. Oh my god. Because that's where all the fucking QAnon stuff sits. Oh, fuck me, Ryan.
John?
John, you're muted. John, you muted yourself.
Shit, sorry. I forgot. I was going to say that, like, 8chan was terrible, but I think Reddit is kind of taking the lead on taking the good things what 4chan did and, like, imposing them into, like, actual things, whereas 4chan's just a clusterfuck.
I think that's a good point because Reddit did spring out of 4chan and their, like, no holds barred kind of posting mentality, but then Reddit figured out that they've got big enough that they actually have to put some fucking clamps down on people. Yeah, you can't put up child porn. Sorry, I'm not gonna let you do it. Yeah,
It's frowned upon.
Yeah, call us Hitler all you want. You're not gonna, put up child porn. Or like there was a guy on 8chan who literally posted pictures of his girlfriend he had just murdered. Just murdered.
Yeah.
And
that's
a little fucked up.
Yeah, he put her up on 8chan and was like, "Hey guys, just want to share this before the cops come." Or I'm sorry, no, it wasn't the cops. It was, I want to share this before my girlfriend's son comes home, and then they call the cops. Like, he had totally fucking murdered his girlfriend. Put the pictures up on 8chan, and everybody's like commenting like it was like a fucking episode of fucking Game of Thrones.
Well,
it's like,
the shooting in New Zealand was like all over that shit.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Dude, it's the world we live in.
Yeah, exactly.
Selfies and you are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Well, when an absolute, there's no equivocation. A mass murderer can fucking live stream his shit on Facebook. That is a little, like you said, Ben. That's the world we live in, and that is really fucking hard to swallow.
Keep in mind, like 100, 200 years ago, people died left and right, no matter what. So it didn't matter that people. Yeah. Well, people did though. There was so many people dying all the time that it was just kind of a normal part of life.
Even someone who wants to stream who wants to stream a murder.
Well, if you're trying to draw an equivalency to like broadcast of mass shootings in the modern day to like mass plagues, which isn't really the same thing. From a
violence perspective, they're not, but at the same time,
the world is less violent, but the violence that does take place is more broadcast out, so it creates this weird distance. Yeah, like
it's one of those things where if you want to go murder somebody, you want to live stream it. Or like, how come no one's stopping this? It's live. You can do it and it's live, and people don't realize like
it takes time.
But that's the stupidity of society, though. They're like, how come no one's stopping this? Well, it's a live.
The answer to your question isn't society. It's why isn't the company that broadcasting is stopping it? It is their job to stop something like that. So it is Facebook's job to make sure that doesn't happen. This isn't like an ethereal, nebulous question. It is fucking Facebook's job to stop that.
Whatever.
But if there was somebody watching every single feed that was going on too, you'd be pissed that like they were,
if you sign because when you sign up for Facebook, if you look in the terms and conditions, like, dude, if you don't have to pay for the service, you're the product being sold. So like, if you don't think that Facebook is already monitoring everything you do and using all your data, you don't understand how it works. So like,
hold on. I think Ben has something he wants to say.
Like, John, like, why are you pissed though?
I'm not pissed.
Oh, I thought you say if you see something like this.
Well, I think there's a down, like there's a like what Shay's saying and what John's saying and what Ben's saying are all like down the same path. And that what Shay's saying is that back in the day, or in the 1950s, there were a shitload more murders and violence and domestic violence and all of that stuff. It just nobody heard about it from town to town because there wasn't anything like social media. And depending on who you want to talk to, like John's saying, the world is violent, but it's getting less and less violent. Like Shay was saying, it's getting less violent every year. But since we're so connected, we hear about every murder that happened in every corner of the world, and it gives you like anxiety because you think everybody's getting murdered.
Right. I'm just saying the world itself is not really changing that much. I mean, yeah, you can view things on the internet more, but the human nature isn't necessarily changing.
We're just violent fucking animals.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't want.
I mean, nothing has changed.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. I mean, let's say you open it up and you see like a live death or whatever. The thing is, like the problem we're running into is like all of a sudden Facebook is to blame or Twitter or whoever.
No, they're not to blame. They just couldn't catch it fast enough. And
yeah,
I agree. I agree with all
their
you guys.
systems just aren't doing. Like they have people whose full-time job is to look at that shit.
Yeah, it takes time to identify that shit.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Like then the blame goes on the corporation.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just ridiculous.
I mean, but that's who it is.
Well,
I don't understand.
But also,
Well,
but that's
I think Facebook
Ben's
has.
saying,
Corporation has nothing to do with it. It's the person uploading.
yeah, what Ben's saying is it's not Facebook's fault that they didn't catch it within the 3-second mark and shut it down. Because like John said, there's not somebody watching every fucking thing, and if they were watching it, excuse me, you would be upset.
They do have people out there, though.
Yeah, but they're not watching every feed, though.
I mean, if you're the kind of person who's going to be upset that somebody at Facebook is monitoring your feed, you shouldn't use fucking Facebook.
There you go.
But that's the problem, though. Everyone's upset about everything.
Like, but like, I don't see how there's
be.
any other way to say like, yo, you should be able to stop somebody broadcasting something like that quicker. Like that's not
The bigger case against Facebook is just they have allowed a lot of this misinformation, cultish groups that
I'm gonna go ahead and
basically
tell
hate
you.
people.
I mean, Facebook knows when I'm looking for sunblock.
Oh, they know everything, bro.
Yeah, and they've allowed a lot of the stuff that's been on there for a long time that's led to certain things that might be violent.
All right.
That's where the argument is.
We're not gonna fix Facebook right now, so let's transition to what I want to talk. One of the big things I would like to talk about, and now that we're all really pretty fucking drunk, I think this is a good time to talk about.
I am lube.
Bam!
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what my approach to this last topic is going to be? We're right at the hour mark. So, if we go an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, nobody's gonna sue us. But so we have the aftermath of the Mueller report. And I would like to do, I don't know, about a 30-second, minute-long recap of what the... we don't have the report, of course. We have what I would like to call the Barr Letter. We got a letter summarizing the 300-some page report of the Mueller report. So what I would like to do is not so much focus on the Mueller report. I'm sorry, again, even I'm fucking this up. Not even focus on what the Barr summary was, but just give you guys the highlights. If you are listening to this podcast for the first time in like the last 6 weeks, this will be some factoids for you. And then what I would like to focus on more is what happened after that, how the media reacted, and how everybody called for blood. In my opinion, for no fucking reason. So. If you guys hear something that I say that you think is infactual or a little bit misconstrued, just stop me and we'll talk about it. But apparently Ben doesn't think I'm going to say anything wrong.
No, I got a tinkle.
Okay. So we are doing this on like I said, Sunday the 31st on March 25th, Friday. The Mueller report. Special Counselor Robert Mueller sent a letter to the Department of Justice, which is newly appointed Robert Barr, saying that they had finished their investigation and were going to send them a summary within the next several days. That summary was a 4-page summary, which was given to the Congress from Attorney General Robert Barr on Sunday the 27th. It said in no uncertain words that the Mueller investigation had found no collusion with Russia. Nobody in the campaign had colluded directly with a person in Russia. It also said that the actual summary said that the Mueller report was not going to make a distinction on whether or not the Trump campaign or Trump himself had obstructed justice. that was basically punting that to the Congress, because that report should then go to the Congress. Attorney General and Rob Rosenstein then caught that football and then ran it in and said, we see no collusion. We see no obstruction of justice. And they released that in a 4-page letter that was on that Sunday the 25th. Okay. Things we should know. Robert Barr was the Attorney General for Bush 41. That would be Herbert Walker Bush. He was real big on pardoning fucking everybody from the Iran-Contra affair. He has what people would call very radical. I'm not saying this is a quote. Legal scholars say that he has a radical view of the president's power, especially when it comes to the fact of investigations into the presidency. He wrote an unsolicited memo and was sent to the Trump White House. It basically said he would not recommend obstruction of justice charges on Donald Trump. He was then subsequently appointed the Attorney General. Okay, so basically where we left it is that the Mueller investigation said Donald Trump did not collude with Russia, but then would not say whether or not he obstructed justice. It also said that the report, while it did not make a distinction on whether he obstructed justice, it did not exonerate him from any charges of obstruction of justice, and that's where we have a free for all. So in the time since then,
Literally doesn't make sense.
we have what?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Since then, we have had a lot of reporting that said yay or nay, but I think a lot of the reporting is hypocritical as shit, and I would like you guys to, I guess, comment there. Or tell me of any of the things I just listed were wrong.
Well, I mean, I just want to know, the whole full thing. I don't know. It just kind of sucks that they haven't released the full thing yet. But then pretty much everything that's going on right now is about what I expected to go down. So nothing too hilarious.
When Barr,
their full report's supposed to come out mid-April.
when Barr was confirmed, I feel like this should have been seen to be coming. He pretty much said that he has a very narrow view of what obstruction is to begin with, and the whole, like you were mentioning about, he doesn't feel like the president can be indicted, and he pretty much, I think, laid it out that he was going to be very defensive of whatever came about to begin with. I think he has a track record going back, like you were saying. It even goes back to Watergate. He has a track record of protecting the president from any type of wrongdoing. So,
well, back during Watergate, he was the one that said, pardon all of them. He told Ford, he was not the Attorney General for Ford, but he was the Attorney General, as I said, for Bush 41. But he was one of the lawyers that apparently was like in the bullpen and told Ford, if you're in for a penny, in for a pound as well. If you're going to pardon people, pardon fucking everybody.
And to his defense, he's probably one of the smarter people that's been working in this whole thing for Trump. So he may be the guy who's finally found an out, considering the rest of, I guess, Trump's inner circle have just been total dumb fucks.
Yeah.
Generally, they keep implicating him worse, whether there's really intention there or not. They somehow keep making it worse, and Barr kind of has the playbook of how to get out of this shit.
How to get out of what?
How to get out of being basically brought up on obstruction of justice charges by the Congress when the report is released.
Oh, well, I mean, didn't the report say there's no collusion with Russia?
The report said there was no collusion with Russia, but
collusion and obstruction are two entirely different things.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying, I mean, if you're going to go one, I mean, it's most likely, if they're going to release that part, the rest of it's going to be the same. It's not going to be much different.
Actually, it might not.
No, there'll be a lot of difference.
Yeah.
I took the collusion part to be more that they were too dumb to realize whether or not.
Hold on, Ben. What do you finish your thought?
They wouldn't release part of it if the rest of it isn't similar. That doesn't make sense. That no one wins there.
Actually, that's exactly how it works out.
Yeah, it won't be. I mean,
No, that's exactly how they'll do it.
Yeah. So
what's the benefit?
There's no benefit, but there's also no way to get around it. Let's put this in context. The Kenneth Starr report that got oh shit, Bill Clinton that got Bill Clinton
He was
caught
a president.
up. Yeah, he was president. He was the 42nd president. Got Bill Clinton caught up with basically. I believe he was actually prosecuted on lying to Congress and obstruction of justice. The reason that he was caught on that was not because Kenneth Starr found that he had lied about a blowjob. Kenneth Starr found out that he had not done anything according to Whitewater that had shit to do with anything. But the day so the Kenneth Starr report was not only released to the public, huh?
I'm sorry, you said Whitewater with Clinton.
Right, Whitewater Clinton. That was what started the Kenneth Starr report. After Kenneth Starr finished his report, when it was finished, he dropped off like 3 or 4 truckloads worth of paperwork to Congress. 2 days later, that same report was released to the public. 48 fucking hours.
But that doesn't make sense today.
How does that not make sense today? We have better technology today. It should be.
Yeah, you can put it in a PDF.
You realize all these people being investigated. All these people work for us, and I want to know. So release the report.
Yeah,
so put it that way.
You're saying like it was like in '94 or whenever it was, or
'98.
Back in Clinton, you're saying it was 2 days.
Right.
And now we have nothing.
Right. That's my point.
I mean, so how long does it take to fucking get everything? I mean, he dumped 4 truckloads of fucking files, but what I'm saying is
Clinton did get impeached. I mean, he did get impeached.
Hold on, let's back up, guys. What I want to say is that
it was 20 years ago. You're saying it was 2 days. How come everything isn't out? I mean, how come it's not all out?
That's a very great question, Ben Ferguson.
And that's the question. How come it's not all out?
That's the question. The question is because no matter what Donald Trump says, Donald Trump has already said release the whole report.
White America.
Huh?
I don't know what that had to do with anything. Donald Trump has said release the full report. It will exonerate me. William Barr said I will release as much as I can. Some of it's going to have to be redacted because it's intelligence reports. Yeah. Mitch McConnell has blocked the release of the report twice now. The House has voted once, almost unanimously to do it.
Part of that was because of the security concerns, though.
Well, I don't actually believe that, Ben. I think that Donald Trump is going to say release the whole report because he knows that Mitch McConnell will block it for him. That's what's going on right there. So back in 1998, when Bill Clinton was impeached for lying about a blowjob, that report, the Kenneth Starr report, was turned in. Exactly, Ben. I wish this was a video podcast. We should do that at some point.
Yeah, totally do it one time.
Yeah. So the Kenneth Starr report was turned in on a Wednesday. It was released to the public on a Friday. Not only was it turned over in 48 hours, it was fucking sold to the public. You guys forget this, but the Kenneth Starr report was a best-selling book. That shit was sold at Barnes and fucking Noble. So this whole thing about how we have to fucking pat around what Donald Trump wants and what's not to, fuck that shit. This shit should be put up on fucking Facebook. I mean, we're already 6 days into this shit, and they haven't released the whole thing. And the reason they don't want to release the whole thing is because they know that this Congress, the democratically controlled House, is going to go through it and find some really good fucking evidence that he maybe also colluded with Russia or something they can throw up in an ad for 2020. Maybe not prosecute him, but they're going to find some really good fucking evidence for obstruction of justice, which I think is the thing that'll stick real good.
Or maybe even something they could use against him in the campaign in 2020.
Yeah.
Maybe not illegal, but just real shit. He'd be like, "Hey, look what this report said he did."
I mean, guys. The funny thing is, the Democrats have spent so much time on this, and we have to get ammunition. They literally have nothing.
Really, Ben?
How do you know? You haven't read the report.
Did you not hear what Adam Schiff said in a?
But everything they've tried to do, all the accusations, all the Russia accusation, which is obviously this is coming. I mean, this kind of solves all that.
Hold on.
There's 35 people who were indicted.
Hold on.
Not like it came.
Let me respond to Ben.
And it's like it's everyone's talking about Russia, and they come to find out, there's no collusion.
No collusion at all.
I mean, the thing is, when you take that, it literally just negates half of what these fucking people are saying, because that's what they all fucking are on this pedestal about. Right. This pedestal is one thing, and then like, this didn't work. Well, let's go to this now. That's bullshit.
Right. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And the same exact people investigated Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton for over 6 years and found absolutely nothing.
And they do the same thing now.
So, but why right now is the president? This is what I want to talk about. This is the
investigation has ended up in indictments.
But
remember that.
It's basically the same thing. But that Trump has done nothing wrong.
That is a comment I'm not going to get behind.
The majority of his campaign staff have been indicted for federal crimes.
I get that. He is, but I'm talking about him.
That's substantial regardless. People are going to prison either way.
Sure. How many indictments were fought? How many indictments were fought up against Barack Obama?
We're not talking about that.
No, we are.
We're talking about the investigation.
But that's not comparable. We're talking about Russia, and we're talking about this. We're talking about, like, I'm not a Trump supporter by any means, but I'm just saying the Democrats go off on these tangents, and they go off on these investigations.
The Democrats go off on these tangents.
And they go off on these tangents. And, hey, these investigations, and this has been 2 years.
It's been 2 whole years.
And they found nothing.
Okay,
nothing.
That's great.
There's people going to jail and they found nothing.
We will see what comes out of it.
I'll tell you right now. Well, let's rewind the time clock and go back to 2012 when the Republicans took the House. When the Republicans took the House, Trey Gowdy, head of the Intelligence Committee, at that time,
7 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. I'm fucking talking about 7 years ago. What's the matter?
7 years ago. We're not talking about today. I mean, we can talk about 7 years ago all you want. But
because I'm going to fucking do it because it's my fucking podcast. And what you just said is fucking ridiculous. You said that the Democrats investigated Donald Trump for no fucking reason. And they came up with nothing. And now, Sean Hannity...
I'm not going to do it to Obama either.
Well... Why the fuck is it okay why the fuck is it a problem that the Democrats investigated Donald Trump, actually did the oversight they should?
I'm not saying the problem. I'm saying that's what's going on today. That's the thing. I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about 7 years. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous that Republicans investigated Obama over bullshit. I'm in agreement. The thing is whoever is in the fucking presidency, the other side just wastes the fucking time.
Or actually does the oversight that the Constitution requires them to do.
Man, it's bull. Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah, okay, the Constitution. Fuck that, whatever.
But they're not.
It'd be a lot easier if we just had a king.
Constitution. It has to do with left and right. It has nothing to do
No, it doesn't. It actually does not have to do with left and right. Because what constitutional thing was the Republican House investigating with Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, and Barack Obama?
Justin, we actually, with the podcast ended last time, I talked about Hillary Clinton.
What do you have to say about Hillary Clinton?
If you talk about Benghazi, I swear to God.
When we talk about the podcast ended last time, talk about Benghazi. I mean, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it again.
What do you have to say about Benghazi that's going to fucking shock me? The fact that Trey Gowdy investigated Benghazi for over 4 years and came up with nothing. Hillary Clinton sat through 11 hours of congressional testimony, didn't lie once, did not perjure herself once, actually walked out of it, still not a felon, and after that investigation, Trey Gowdy was allowed to quietly retire from Congress, having absolutely fucking done nothing for 4 years except piss away congressional money. Now, while right now the Mueller investigation has spent what $25 million,
which
and
originates from the Justice Department. I'm just going to say Justice Department.
Justice Department, and then has gotten $49 million worth of seized assets from fucking Manafort alone. So
shit pays for itself.
The one thing that Donald Trump has done in his presidency that has turned a fucking profit.
See, John saying that though. John saying it comes from this it comes from this. It doesn't matter. It comes from the same fucking coffer. It all comes from the same fucking pool of money. It doesn't matter.
You're changing the subject.
Actually,
what the hell about Benghazi?
Actually,
executive branch and legislative branch are entirely different budgets. They're entirely different.
They're two different budgets.
Hold on. Talk one at a time. Ben, what's your problem with Benghazi? Let's do it.
And Hillary's everyone knows Hillary's to blame on it, and there's no point because we can go back and forth the whole time. It doesn't matter. Just like we did last time, it's not gonna matter.
Really, because I can bring you up statistics to say that the State Department had asked for increased funding for security over and over again, and that was declined by the Republican-controlled Senate and House.
That's whatever you want. There's other factors there's
no other factors. That's a fact.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about other. I'm not talking about factors. There's other operations. There's other things we can talk about. Benghazi is one of the ones. Hillary's blamed for it, and Hillary skated from it.
Blamed for it, but she shouldn't be.
Hold on. Let's back up. Look, can Ben just? Are you seriously just going to ignore the facts I just told you?
You can either blame Hillary, or you can blame Barack, one or the other.
No. Oh, fuck off. No, hold on. Fuck off.
Oh, Barack's in charge.
Hillary Clinton was blamed because she was Secretary of State during the Benghazi attack. I can show you that for the last 4 years before the Benghazi attack, the State Department had asked for more funds for security, and the Republican-controlled House denied those. What the fuck do you want to say about that?
The legislative branch makes the budget.
That's just like what it is now, though. It's a complete reverse, though. I mean, there's a Republican-controlled House.
No, it's not a complete reverse now. I'm telling you a fact that happened in the past, and you are just drunkenly ignoring it. So just say, I fucked up, I don't know what I'm talking about, and we'll move on.
Like I said, I'm not going to talk.
No! It's one of the...
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm really happy to have your opinion on this podcast, because when presented with an actual fact, you go, I reject your reality and I substitute
she
my
killed
own.
Soldiers? I mean, she was responsible for killing the soldiers?
Was she?
Why?
Did she do it herself?
Was.
What part do you not understand about how she requested
this is what I'm talking
more
about.
budget?
You guys lean one way. It doesn't make. I can't argue with you.
No, there's records of the Republican Congress denying budget.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can't argue with you. It doesn't matter.
You're right. You're right. You can't argue with us because you don't have the facts to back up your argument.
No, because it doesn't matter because I get piled on anyway. It doesn't matter. I would get piled on either way. It doesn't matter.
No, actually, if you could show us where Hillary Clinton was responsible for denying funds to that particular embassy, I would be more than happy to entertain that.
One thing you're saying about the one thing, the denial of funds.
Yeah, that means a lot in government.
Actually,
you can't do anything in government without funding.
Yeah, I don't know. Believe me, the military is the last thing that's not funded.
It's the State Department. It's not the military.
Yeah.
They were a state.
It's okay.
They were not a military institution.
So what happened in Benghazi?
I know.
Did somebody get hurt, dude? What happened in Benghazi, bro?
Jesus Christ.
Dude, we don't mean to be rude, but you just like walked right into that, and you don't have anything other than the opinion that I'm a Democrat and you might not be a Democrat.
I know, you pile on. So you pile on.
Well, then have better fucking facts and a better point. We don't pile on.
I said I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you. Because last time you shut down the podcast.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
When did I shut down the podcast? Because
you kind of ended it pretty quick. I'll give him.
Thank you, John. John can agree. You ended the podcast.
He was being a dick, but
yeah.
Okay, so the last time Ben was on the podcast, I ended it quick because apparently he couldn't defend his point and just wanted to call me a fucking Democrat for not being able to defend his point. Is that am I wrapping that up pretty good? Because that's what I'm seeing right fucking now.
No.
This might be the best podcast.
Because I can't.
Because you guys have been Cosby.
I can't argue. I cannot argue with you about it. You guys pile on, and so I'm just not going to.
All right, Ben.
Okay.
Ben, pick one of us that you want to talk to about this, and I guarantee you, I will tell the rest of them to shut the fuck up.
Yep, not going to.
He's going to pick.
Yeah.
No.
That was awesome. That was a good rebuttal.
No, it won't work that.
So anyway, not talking about Benghazi. I guess the thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that Donald Trump said that the Republican Party totally won with the Mueller report. But I would like to point out that the people who are hammering... all right, so on the 25th of March, Donald Trump did have a very good day. He had a very good day because the Mueller report said he did not collude with Russia. Shay, I think you had the first person out of the gate that said, hey, listen, everybody, the fact that the president did not actually commit treason is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is really dumb. There's all these people. Oh, damn it! Like here's how I'm looking at it. Like I want to find out. Like there's so many people that keep conflating what the Democrats are doing because it's versus what the investigation is versus like just because an investigation doesn't find anything doesn't mean there wasn't a reason to look. So like that's the point. Like you would hope because if there is if circumstances for something line up and it looks shady and you don't look into it and then it turns out there's something shady, you haven't done your job. So like if you say like, hey, this shit looks shady, let's look into it, and then you say, hey, he didn't do anything, that's a good deal. But what's cracking me up about the whole thing is you've got people on the left who are like, well, shucks, he's not a traitor, and then you got people on the right who are like, yep, he's not a traitor, like that, he's got all this other shit that's going on that's super shady and questionable and all this history that's really crappy and he's doing all the shitty stuff, but that's the one thing you're going to hear people talk about is the fact that he didn't include Russia, which is a pretty low bar to be proud of, to be perfectly honest.
It doesn't take away the fact that he's being investigated from the state of New York for tons of different
but I mean,
fraud.
I've said this a million times. If he's guilty of anything seriously, it's going to be some shady financial shit. It's not going to be some grand. It's not going to be some grand scheme to take the presidency. It's going to be tax evasion.
One person talks at the same time. All right, so Shay says there's a bunch of schemes. Spin. Go ahead.
It's all about his dealings. It's all about his financial dealings. That's all bullshit. You can see
it's actually not. It's actually not.
He's being investigated by New York. He's always being investigated by New York. He's always invested in lawsuits. Anybody who, how much
money? Not at all. No, hold on, Ben. To your point, Ben, you're saying that
yes, that is all true, but that was all before the presidency.
He's still current, though. It's
the things he's being investigated financially for are directly related to his run for president.
One at a time. Yes, one at a time. One at a time.
Last? Come on. Lawsuits last years. They're not days. They're years.
Years what? So, are you upset that they're investigating the years before he was elected president? You say that's out of bounds?
I don't anything. They can investigate all they want, but so far the investigation's shown nothing. Correct?
Actually, the investigations in the Southern District of New York have turned up. His entire foundation has been shut down for what has been called an incredibly amount of illegal activity. They're now looking into his real estate dealings because he's inflated and deflated property values. He inflates them to get a loan and then would deflate them for tax purposes.
And he's been doing that for years. He's done that. He did that before, and he'll probably do that after too.
Well, so
Why
here's
is
the thing,
that
that doesn't
okay?
make them any more legal.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying is that he's been involved in property disputes and all these lawsuits. I don't know. I have no idea how many lawsuits Trump involved in. 100?
Right now it's 16.
16? I would assume it'd be more. I would.
Yeah,
right
it
now,
should be.
well,
But probably because he's the president, some of them are in a corporation or whatever. But whatever. I mean,
Wait, that didn't happen with Obama. That didn't happen with Clinton. That didn't happen with the Bushes.
Obama
They weren't under that many freaking different lawsuits.
real estate. Bush didn't. None of them did. It didn't happen with Obama or Clinton. You. And the funny thing is,
I just said Bush. Reagan wasn't under those lawsuits.
George Bush. You admit
Ford
George
wasn't under those
say
lawsuits.
Obama and Clinton.
Nixon wasn't even under those lawsuits.
It's stupid, John. You admit George W. And then admit it. You say Obama and Clinton. You admit George W.
George
just
W.
said the
Bush
Bushes.
was, hold on.
It didn't
Hold
have
on.
any of them, and that's the
Hold, yeah, no. Hold on.
No, not like
No.
that.
Yeah, hold on. Let's back up. What Ben just said is that we're skipping over all the Republican. We're skipping over all the Democratic. I'm sorry. We're skipping over all the Democratic people and only focusing on Republicans. George W. Bush was basically he was going to get indicted. Except
I get it.
what?
Justin, I get it. Something happened in 2004. I understand. I'm not trying to defend all of it.
So everything that happened before the current day is totally fucking off limits, and the federal statutes don't matter as long as it's just some guy you kind of support.
I get where you're going with it. It does. I mean, we're gonna pull up some arbitrary fucking George W. fucking fact. I get it.
No, it's not a George W. Bush arbitrary fact. It's the fact that his administration outed a CIA asset, and it was done by his vice president, and Scooter Liberty took the fucking fall for it.
Okay.
Fucking Google that shit.
Like I said, some arbitrary fucking fact. I mean,
Yeah, it was arbitrary.
How's that arbitrary?
Oh my god, damn it.
You know,
Oh.
the point I was trying to make is, as much as I don't like George W. Bush from a personal business standpoint before he was president, he was scot
solid.
clean
He
compared
was
to Trump.
solid.
what, John?
I'm just saying that I don't even like George W. Bush, but if you look at his track record before he became president, he's scot clean compared to Trump. Like, he didn't have all these fuck ups and different ass problems.
Oh.
I mean, he was the governor of Texas. That brings its own baggage.
The only
But
thing he did was give Obama the presidency, and then Obama drove us into a fucking recession.
are you serious?
How?
You know the recession was taking place way before Obama took office.
And Obama drove us into it.
No, that's not how
Are
it
you
works.
fucking
That's
kidding?
not how it works.
See, this is how it works. I mean, I get it. Like, this is how it works.
Well, you're getting it because you have no facts that line up with reality, Ben.
Then-
I'm sorry.
Economic data like shows that there was like
Oh, I understand. Hey, I understand. I understand the trickle effect of presidencies. I get it. I
don't think you do.
But yeah, I mean, but basically, Obama has no blame on anything.
if you look at job growth
recession.
and economic activity throughout his if you take away the first 3 months, it is nothing but
What
soaring upwards
for who?
for Obama. Like his first 3 months, it crashed. It makes him look bad, sure, but that was not his fault.
No. When Obama left office, it was not a soaring fucking economy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
It might not be soaring, but it was very I don't know, long-term growth thing that apparently Trump likes to take credit for now.
Long-term growth is a funny one. Where?
I mean,
There you go.
8 years is a long time.
The economy, no, there's no fucking way. You can't sit here and say the economy grew for 8 years. Because
You're full of shit.
Yes, I could. Actually, I could.
Oh, because
You're full of shit.
Because the recession started with Bush right at the end of his presidency.
Yeah, you
I
see,
know,
the goddamn recession
and
crashed.
his presidency.
Well, it's not like the recession lasted like 5 years.
No, the recession. How long do you think it lasted?
The recession itself really was more of like a half a year type thing. It was the recovery from it took a long time.
I can't.
So can everybody see my screen right now?
Yeah.
I can't. I
You
can't.
see this?
No. That's not how it was. That's not how the market was. That's
All right, hold on.
That's
I'm
the
not
market.
talking about the market. This is unemployment. This is unemployment. This is the unemployment numbers as you go. So Barack Obama was elected right about. Huh?
What is unemployment has nothing to do? No.
All right, hold on.
It's a pretty big economic factor.
This is unemployment.
Okay.
For those of you that are listening online, because we totally fucking derailed here. What we're looking at is the unemployment from 2006 to 2018. What I'm showing Ben is that in 2008, when Barack Obama was elected, the unemployment was right about. I'm sorry, Barack Obama was not elected in 2008. I'm sorry, it's 2009, of course. Blah.
Well, he was elected in November 2008.
All right, November 2008. So at November 2008, it was right about 5.5.
Nothing.
The unemployment skyrocketed in the next year and a half because George W. Bush had fucking cratered the economy.
Unemployment has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Okay, but I'm just showing you one thing. So
It has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
All right, well, shut the
to
fuck
this
up
very
for a
da-
second, Ben.
To this very day, it is considered to be a prime indicator
I'm
of economic
showing
success.
you that at 2009, the unemployment was skyrocketing, and then in 2000, like right before 2010, you can clearly see it's going down. Just clearly down.
To 4.1.
Right. Okay. So while Ben said, huh?
Who's in charge then?
Yeah, Barack Obama.
Trump.
Barack Obama was in charge until 2016, and if you look at that number, you'd say there was no big. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the stock market. Let's just do Dow Jones Industrial.
You're okay.
Ben,
Yeah,
let
you
us know
said it
what's
was-
the indicator that we should use as a measurement.
The
Tell
Dow.
us what indicator we should use.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, okay. Use Dow. You can't use a Nasdaq. Nasdaq goes on internet, so internet, whatever, Facebook, whatever.
I'd say just tell us what you want us to look up, like any type of indicator economically whatsoever.
Oh, unemployment's a horrible one.
What's the best indicator?
Gross median income is one.
Oh, here I got a good one here. Let's look at this. So everybody can see my screen now, right?
Everything is based off of the middle class.
So everybody can see my screen now, right?
Yeah.
You see that? See, that right there is about where that's where George W. Bush lost the I'm sorry, well, he was 2 terms. I'm sorry. This is right where Barack Obama won the election, and then you see the stock market take this.
Actually, that was January 2008. He took over in January 2009.
Right, but you see this right here. You see this big area. There you go.
So he basically was at rock bottom.
Yeah, so when Barack Obama took over the presidency, it was at the rock bottom, right there, February 2009. Now, you see where it is up here? Well, look at that. Oh, look at that shit. Look at all that. Look at all those gains.
Right.
Look at all the gains.
You do.
Oh.
You do.
It pissed the rich people off so bad.
The housing market and the actual stock market aren't cyclical, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. You're just trying to pull shit out of your ass now, because I just showed you 2 reasons that the
No.
Barack Obama economy recovery actually fucking worked. So,
well, shit, half of his recovery was really stuff that were proposed when Bush was president. So
Bush gets all the credit.
for
you seem to
the economy, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
It's just
kinda.
credit.
I mean,
No,
I think.
All right.
I think as far as some of the bailout stuff, he gets. What?
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to. I hate to be this guy, but I'm gonna put like the hammer down now and say that this conversation is going fucking anywhere because huh?
You're right. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere because I've showed Ben 3 separate data points to disprove the things he said.
They're not cyclical.
Huh?
The housing market and they're not cyclical.
Would you like to see the housing market? I mean, I can
Let's
show
look
you all
at it.
this.
You're
I mean, for fuck's sake.
cyclical stats. It doesn't make sense. So
It's all cyclical because
How does it not make sense?
because
It's
one
right there.
one doesn't but the other.
Well, the housing market itself is only
It
one
doesn't-
indicator. It's not all
Yeah,
the economy.
the housing market doesn't affect the economy. The housing market only affects the economy whenever it has a drastic change on the economy. There's a big difference.
that makes no sense.
I was gonna
whatsoever.
say, yeah, it makes no sense.
It makes a bunch of in 2008
No, it doesn't.
It only makes.
Housing-
You're
no,
basically saying it
housing-
only makes an impact
Effect on the
until
until
When
it
it makes an
didn't
impact.
have an effect. That's the thing, because if it had, then you'd have had all these. Go ahead, it's fine. They don't have. It's not reciprocal.
okay.
Well, John,
All right.
How red we
explain to me how to explain
All right.
how unemployment and the housing market are cyclical.
Nobody ever said they were fucking cyclical. I was telling you that the housing market. Here's your housing market shit. Or I don't know. You want to see this in full? Okay, so here's you see that?
Yeah, that's a dip.
Right.
Yeah, see
Pretty
that?
big
See
one.
that tip?
Wait, what are you at here? Wait, where are you at?
2010, it was negative. The housing market. Okay, so
Right.
we got
So
price inflation for
Thing
housing.
is, where do you think? I mean, it's pretty much flat. Where do you think it's gonna?
What?
Where do you
It's
think it's gonna go?
Okay, it's pretty much flat.
That's
except
measuring
this huge-
inflation, so that as actually compounds.
That's
yeah, it's
inflation
measuring
based on
inflation.
the housing market. That's the thing. The housing market fucking measured the inflation. It caused the inflation.
Hold on. Okay, you said that Barack Obama didn't do anything for the housing market. I'm looking at it right now, going from in 2000 and you say it'd be like 7, 8, 9, 10.
The housing.
Are you not seeing this big reversal?
Justin, I can't argue with you. Barack brought the housing market back. There was nowhere for the housing market to go. Well, look how compared. Wait, no. Go back.
Why?
Because I want to show you something. Go back.
All right.
Go back to the chart. Go back to the fucking stat you just had. Now, look at the housing market. Look at the peak. And let's say 16, 17. Let's say 16 or 17. It's right at where you just were. It's actually below. The housing market didn't bounce back.
Sure looks like it did.
Level out.
How do you look at this? How do you look at this number that in 2005, 6, 7, 8. In 2008, it's at 2.5% inflation.
All right, so
2006 is
crashes.
2.5. And 2007, it's at like 0.
Why does it crash though?
It's because of the global fucking economy crash
Well,
that George W.
The
Bush
global economy
oversaw.
not crash. The global economy not crash at that point.
Are you fucking shit me?
The global economy didn't crash until 2012.
Oh, fuck off.
No, if you look how stable it was. Look how stable it was. Where'd it go? You took my fucking thing.
Stable.
Yeah. No, I took it away because it's not saying what you wanted to say, Ben. I don't know what the fuck you're trying to say.
1980, did you see the peak? In 1980.
Whoa. I thought we weren't supposed to talk about years that were passed right now. We can't talk about 1980. Because I'm not allowed to talk about what I'm not allowed to talk about what Barack Obama did.
All right.
Peace.
Let's be civil.
Bye, Ben.
Well, Gatlin looks like he's having a good time.
All right, guys. That was a bit way off the rails for what I wanted to talk about, but apparently Ben thought he had a lot of points he was gonna fucking hammer us with. That didn't happen. So what I will do is we'll just end this podcast where it is right now. We went for about 2 hours, which is a makeup for what I wanted to do, I guess. I'm kind of upset Ben was so, I guess, uncooperative later in.
Dude, I told you that would happen.
Move me, that's bullshit.
What's that?
There he is.
Move me, that's bullshit.
Why don't you quiet down right now, Ben, so we can finish up the podcast?
All right. Well, don't remove that.
Sorry.
Well, I thought you were done. So I because that was just data. Data you didn't want to listen to.
It was previous. So, you're not allowed to listen to it.
Oh, fuck me, Ryan. Anyway, so what we did tonight was cover a lot of. Huh?
Can I bring something up just for Ben? Like, I haven't listened to it yet, but apparently Elon Musk has released a rap song.
Oh, I already sent him that. I sent him that. He should have heard that.
He saw me. He saw it earlier.
Yeah, so if you guys have not heard that Elon Musk, for some fucking reason that we can't explain, has done a rap song about Harambe, the gorilla that was killed. Well, like, Ben, it was like fucking 3 years ago now? Like, it's been a while.
Henry Clay on the 6th of this month is doing a Harambe fashion show.
There we go. Yeah.
Dude, Harambe's dead.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
R.I.P.
Yeah, that was the worst thing that happened.
Fuck Harambe,
right.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring it around so Ben's back in.
He died on Katie Gatlin's wedding day?
Did he really?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
That's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Dale said to Roy, we kind of went off the rails there at the end. The moral of the story is this Fox News sucks. But we enjoy doing this podcast. I say that every week. I mean it every week because we have a fucking ball doing it.
Let's be honest, you're struggling a little bit right now.
See,
I'm perfectly fine.
I disagree with
What?
This is why you guys don't invite me on. I disagree with you guys.
Well, actually,
none of us have been on.
Well, I haven't invited you on I haven't invited any of you on for a while because
I didn't mean that in a negative light. I'm just saying none of us has been invited, so it's not like he's being singled out.
Oh, no, can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Is Shay actually on, or is he just a
No, he's probably playing a video.
I'm doing shit. Y'all are chewing the fat and saying a bunch of nothing. So
I wish I could pod like Shay. He's
all right, go ahead, Justin.
I'm not getting sucked into that. I'm not going to Event Horizon of that bullshit hole.
Yeah. So what I would say to Ben is you're welcome on the podcast anytime you want to, but you're not allowed to act like a butthurt little girl when none of your facts check out. So that's what happens. Maybe. There we go. Whatever.
Oh, Shay's frozen now.
Yeah, Shay's present.
He blew his load.
So anyway,
like
I God damn it, shut up, all of you. Like I say every week.
Don't you kick me out of that.
Yeah. Like I say every week, we enjoy the shit out of doing this. We hope you enjoy listening to this stuff because we really do have a ball.
This is going to be interesting to listen to tomorrow.
Shut up, John. You're fucking it up. All right. So,
hey, John, you want to get some lunch tomorrow?
Oh my god.
Sure, why not?
Am I kicking everybody out and just recording myself here? Shut up.
Toodles.
And they wonder why we don't invite people on.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah. So anyway, you should be able to find this podcast anywhere you want to find, anywhere you can find your podcast. Hopefully, it has less dipshits like talking over you while you're trying to tell everybody where to find your podcast.
Toodles.
Oh god damn it. You should totally hit us up on the YouTubes, the Twitters.
The YouTubes? I'll watch all the goddamn videos on that thing in the gym. That's great.
All right. This is where Shay says goodbye to the nice people, and there's going to be a fuckload of nonsense.
Bye.
Bye.
Ben, say something, you dickhole.
What's